Good evening. This is the Walpole Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight is Wednesday, November 16th. It is 7 p.m. The first case we have tonight is case number 22-28 for 3 Tanglewood Road, special permit pursuant to section 5B2 of the Walpole zoning bylaws to allow an accessory in-law suite. We have some pieces of correspondence with this.
So, I think it's a little bit at the end of your packet, John. We had five pieces of correspondence from,
So we have from the fire department, we have from Deputy Chief Paul Barry. 1, if the request is approved, building plans, including the location of all life safety devices, will need to be submitted through the Walpole Building Department for our review. A follow-up Walpole Fire Department inspection will be conducted to ensure compliance with the approved plans. The Health Department has no objections to the special permit request, as the property is connected to town sewer. From the town engineer, Carl Waldorf, we have a couple stating that the plans have been reviewed, and he said, 1, the application materials contain a document indicating 2 water meters will be present. This does not conform with Walpole Public Works, Department of Public Works policy. Only 1 meter should be present for a dwelling with an attached apartment. And from the from Luke Parlon with the police, the attached plans have been reviewed for any impact on public safety and quality of life. The Walpole Police Department does not have any public safety concerns in relation to traffic in this case. And from Landis Hershey from the Conservation Commission, determination of applicability issued 1/21/22. Applicant shall follow requirements of negative determination. Okay, so that's all good to have. And if the applicant wants to come forward and explain what's being proposed in this project, you can come up to the microphone. We have the plans in front of us.
Good night. My name is Carlos Lobos. I'm the general contractor of this property. One of the owners is here, Steve. Steve is a veteran. His daughter is the other owner. She's a nurse. And her husband is military as well. So they try to get a home or place where they can, as a family, be together. For that reason, is we're running for all this process, and I would like to, if it's positive, the approval, so that definitely they're gonna be happy, and I think it's a good asset for Walpole Town, have this family moving to this community.
Okay,
I
do you
don't
want
know.
to, so,
Questions?
yeah, so, I guess you brought up the people that would live there.
Yes.
One of the requirements is that it's a 3rd degree of kinship. What is the relationship of the people that would be living at the house?
Their father and daughters.
What's that?
It's father and daughter.
Father and daughter?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's a 2nd grade, so it's fine.
Okay. And is that the owner of the property?
Yes.
The owner of the property is here? Okay. Okay. Do you want to walk us through the plans and explain what's being proposed and how you're going to make this all fit together?
Yeah, we have an existing barn that we've been using before as a barn or shed. Basically, we're building a slab with a breezeway to connect the main house with this barn, and we want to build there the in-law. This is 884 square foot, what we want to have. That is related with the in-law. Then we have another addition on the right side of the property that is just to give space for the kids.
So the addition, as you look at the house to the right side, that's, you can build that as of right. That's-
Exactly, yeah.
right. So that's not what we're talking about.
It's not.
Really, the only thing we're talking about tonight is the in-law.
Exactly, yeah.
In-law suite.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, do you want to explain how this connects into the house?
Yes.
Because that's one of the things that. the
Exactly.
dock
We
looks at.
basically, as I mentioned, on the first floor, we're gonna build breezeway that is connecting from the living room to the barn. We don't have doors and we don't have nothing to against to the in-law request. So we have one garage, we have one exit to the driveway, basically, and everything is gonna be as a one unit or as a residential to follow the instructions of the in-law as well.
So there is no door from the,
From the main house to the
the
barn.
new living room into the
In-law right now.
in-law suite. Okay. And on the second floor of, that's empty above the.
It's gonna
in-law
be
suite?
empty, yes.
Okay.
When you say breezeway, I'm not seeing, I call a breezeway a porch, so what are you calling a breezeway that you're building?
Well,
To connect?
We call it breezeway, but basically it's another room that's connected. We have an existing garage.
Right, I saw it,
Yeah.
yep.
So we're building the living room, and it's a space like a 2 feet, I'm gonna say 4 feet. So, from the living room to the barn. So we're building that little, like a walkway, I'm gonna call it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's
All
different.
right,
yeah.
just the terminology.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a passage,
It's a
it's a
passage,
hallway.
yes, exactly.
Looks like it has a window,
Exactly.
a window into the garage, or a
Exactly,
window outside,
yes.
okay. All right, and the upstairs was already mentioned, that will never be,
Exactly, it's gonna be empty, because we don't have the headroom, and we don't want to pass the minimal for the in-law.
okay, and as far as the existing driveway on the property?
It is, yes, with gravel, just gravel. But it's existing driveway there.
Right.
Yes.
And you have enough parking for
Oh, yes.
enough
yes.
cars? Okay. All right. And I noticed, back to the Conservation Commissioner, you asked her what negative determination was. Now, I went there today, and there's all kinds of little fences and silt socks laying
Exactly.
around. That's what the negative
Exactly, yes.
determination is? Okay. Are you in any kind of water area? I know it's pretty swampy out there, but
Yeah, we have a pond in the back.
the pond?
Yes.
Okay, and you're not working anywhere near the
No.
pond?
We're far from there.
Okay, that's all for now.
How many bedrooms is the existing house?
The existing house is, let me. 4, if I'm not wrong. 3 bedrooms.
Okay. And with the in-law suite, how many bedrooms will the house have?
Well, with the in-law, it's gonna be 4,
Okay.
yeah.
So one of the, if approved, one of the conditions would be that it's a 4-bedroom home and will remain a 4-bedroom home.
Yeah,
No, there's 4 in the house.
the existing is 3 bedrooms right now, plus the barn. The new, or the modification is gonna have 4 bedrooms plus the in-law, so it's gonna be 5 bedrooms.
I didn't understand. It's 3 right now.
It's but we're gonna do a demolition of this
Oh.
of part of the property.
On the other side?
Yes, so that is,
It's the addition, I guess if you're looking at the home, Mr. Chairman, it would be to your right,
Yep.
Yeah.
I imagine.
exactly.
Yeah, but we're not seeing that on this.
2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms.
So in the The sheet in the back on page A4 of the
A4,
architectural renderings, it gives an overview of the second floor layout of the home.
Okay, A4,
So,
yep.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
Is that,
So, that's what. Okay. The addition that's going on to the right-hand side of the house,
Exactly.
that's really not part of
It's not part,
what we're talking about,
yes.
but it does, is there gonna be a bedroom in that?
It's in the addition, yes.
In the addition
Yes.
on the right-hand
Exactly.
side of the house?
Yeah.
So, it is currently a three-bedroom house, but you're gonna add a bedroom
Yes.
in the main house.
Exactly.
Plus the
The
bedroom
in-law, yes.
over here. Okay.
you're replacing the septic?
It's a sewer.
It's on sewer? And are you, was the water meter, was that a mistake, or what was the request?
Yeah, that was a mistake, yes. Actually, the engineer make a amendment, is saying like it's no problem if we follow with one water meter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bob, any questions?
No, nothing, I'm good.
I'm gonna open it up to the public, so. Is there anybody from the public that wants to comment on this? Sure.
John Dolan, 7 Tanglewood Road, direct abutter. I support his improvement of the property.
Okay. It's always nice to have a neighbor come out and support. Anybody else that wants to say it? Judy, you good?
Nope, I'm good. I have some conditions, but we'll get
Okay.
there.
Okay. Well, let's talk about conditions.
The one water meter, I think, should be a condition, and I'm concerned with the second level of the barn, and I would like it to be conditioned that remain undeveloped and storage only.
So on the water meter, I don't think we have to say one water meter because the bylaw says that any more than one water meter, that has to be a condition, so,
Right, but he just said there was an amendment made. We haven't seen it, so I would like it in the condition.
okay,
Okay.
okay. So one, only one water meter. Two,
Second floor of the
second
accessory
floor.
in-law suite remain unfinished, storage only.
Okay. Anything else? And you don't, that's what you want storage, right? You don't,
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And I think one of the things, there's no doorway between the unit, between the in-law suite, so that's good. Thank you for designing it the way the bylaw is intended.
Exactly.
Okay.
Can we just go over the numbers again? Because the whole house is like 5,600 square feet when everything's complete,
Yes.
and it was 864 square feet for the
Exactly,
in-law?
yes.
Okay,
So that's
and that works out to
170.
15%,
yeah.
okay. Yep, I did that.
I mean, I'm just doing that off the top. Is it Is it close? It's
It
about
was, yeah, it
170.
was 15.33 according to my calculator.
Okay. Okay. Board members, we good? Okay. Do you want to close the hearing?
No, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to work with the town more often, and
Okay.
have a good night, yeah.
So would somebody make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved?
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Tim. Oh, yeah, voting on this will be the members here, the 5 members here tonight. Okay, motion has been made, seconded to close the hearing, and this is just to close the hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay, the hearing's closed. Now, would somebody make a motion to approve the in-law suite at, what number, Tanglewood?
3.
3 Tanglewood.
At 3 Tanglewood, and with the standard conditions plus an additional condition, only 1 water meter for the property, and 2, second floor of the in-law suite will remain unfinished and for storage only.
You want those plans?
Yeah, thank you.
Inside.
And this is also based on the plans dated October 28th, 2022 by Lawrence Malsky, architect, and the plot plan with the date. The most recent plot plan is from Galassa Engineering with a date of, somebody help me here?
11/8. I think it's 11/8. That's signature.
November
Yep,
7th.
November 7th. Yep, November 7th. Somebody want to make that motion?
So moved?
Okay, moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Drew. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving this, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay, good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Welcome to Walpole. Okay, we have one set of minutes from our last meeting, from November 2nd, and I'm sure Bob has gone over them, but I found only one typo from me, and that was on page 3, fourth paragraph down, Mr. Gloss. It's Mr. Glosser, but that's the only thing I
That's the
found.
second Mr. Gloss I made the same mistake. I don't know what it is.
Spell check probably doesn't catch you.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you have anything, Bob?
I just had one on page 1, towards the bottom, the motion by Ms. Conroy and seconded by Mr. Delaney to accept the applicant's variance request to withdraw with prejudice. I think we just strike variance.
Yes.
So we'll just say, accept the applicant's request to withdraw without prejudice.
Okay.
Good. Anybody have anything else on that? Like reliving the meeting, reading the minutes, so. Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes of November 2nd?
So moved?
Okay,
Second.
moved by Judy, second by Bob. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay. So that, does anybody have anything else before we start talking about the accessory in-law suite bylaw and what we're dealing with? Do you have anything else?
Yeah, no, but the only other thing, I just because it is a short meeting tonight, I figured it might be worthwhile that I had the schedule on as well. So I don't know if that's
Okay,
the 2023 meeting schedule. It's the same first and third Wednesday of the month as the board usually meets. Just want to have the dates out there for any conflicts.
Do we have the town meeting schedule, so we don't, like, last minutely cancel like we did?
right. So
Yeah.
this is just being put out there tonight.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is I want to go look, I'm going to look at school vacations, I'm going to look at
Oh, okay.
any holidays, things, so we don't have to finalize this tonight. But if everybody would take a look, you know, if there's something that doesn't look right on this, we can bring this up, you know, next time. But town meeting is a big one that we want to make sure that
We don't
we don't-
plan to meet that time, yeah.
we can avoid. Okay. Okay. Anything else, Patrick?
Nope, that's it, so.
So, let's, seeing that we spend a lot of time, what's people's thoughts on that? So, anybody want to lead off?
I have a handout,
Okay, okay, great.
because I've been keeping notes on what we have, just seem to have issues with.
Yeah.
So I'll keep my copy. 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 pages if anyone wants to take the top 3 and pass it down. I didn't staple, sorry.
I usually carry one, so.
Well, hot off the presses. I had a little printer issue this morning, so.
Okay. So, Judy, do you want to,
Yeah,
Bring this up?
I've kept a little list of things we've had trouble with, well, not trouble, but kind of in the middle, gray kind of areas. So I kind of poked around online and looked at some of the different towns around and what the Massachusetts state Mass Housing has for definitions and things like that. So under the, for possible consideration, and if, I don't know if you have your bylaw, but
yeah,
we
we
don't-
all-
we
Should be in your.
yeah. We don't really have a purpose or an intent, which most other bylaws seem to have, which just state to provide an opportunity for family members who choose to live in close proximity but separate from other family members to remain within the family environment. 2, to provide the health and safety concerns of elder or disabled homeowners who wish to remain in their homes. And 3, to protect residential stability, property values, and the single-family characters of the neighborhood. It's kind of just a, kind of a statement, not necessarily, part of the bylaw, but it's like I think the overall reason why we take each case by case, neighborhood by neighborhood. So I don't know if you want to discuss each one. I don't want to read the whole page
No,
until we're finished.
So I think this is good, and particularly, one of the things, the single-family character of the neighborhood, and that's what we've been trying to do, so that they're not, these in-law suites do not look like separate dwellings attached onto a house. And so I think this all makes sense. It actually strengthens our position if, if somebody wants to build something that just doesn't have the character, and that's a subjective, area.
Right.
The character of single-family neighborhoods, so.
Okay. The next one is RB, ownership requirements for the accessory in-law suites. Looking at 1 through 6, I think we stick to that, as far as the, going to the registry and the existing single family with, valid building permits and things like that. But there are a few towns around us that, when they grant the special permit, they grant it for a time frame of 3 to 5 years, with a renewal that goes through their building inspection services, where the principal owner must file an application or file an information application, just basically confirming who is living there. I mean, I'm sure there are cases where they build the in-law suite for the family member who might be elderly, and a couple of years later, they pass or can't be in the home and go to a nursing home, so then we have an empty accessory in-law suite. Or do we? I guess that's a question.
Well, no, I think.
And I don't like to be, to use the term bedroom police, but there are cases where some of us are aware that there are places being rented as
Yeah.
a rental. I guess I'll just say as a rental.
So, did you find that other towns had the special permit for 3 to 5 years.
It was granted by their zoning board. I should have put the towns, but I'll go back and
Okay.
list them.
But, so, the way I always viewed a special permit, it goes with the property.
Right.
And even if somebody were to, sell the property, the special permit goes with it. Patrick, do you know if is it common to put, in fact, can you put a time limit on a special permit?
I mean, I
You
think
can-
another way to do it would be
Yeah.
include a condition in the special permit that says
That they
that you would provide whatever
inform that
notification you're
informa-
talking about.
yeah, I mean,
And
I don't-
If it's not provided, then it becomes,
I would say to that.
Hold on, then it becomes what?
it could become whatever, like, there has to be a consequence, obviously, if you
Or
don't
do-
provide.
Well,
Do you
yeah, there
lo-
is a
do you lose-
consequence if they don't, in,
Do you lose the special permit?
you lose a special permit and you have like 6 months to remove the kitchen. I mean, granted, I think our bylaw says they go to Norfolk County Registry of Deeds and register the in-law suite. But somebody may buy that house and they don't want an in-law suite, so they don't renew it, or they don't record it as such, and they pull the kitchen out. Because they're supposed to still look like a single-family home. And that probably does happen, but we don't know about it. Because somebody might not want an in-law suite, but they want the large 6-bedroom house.
So, the question, I guess my question is, and I don't have a problem with it,
Right.
but can we put a time limit on a special permit?
Well, that, like I said, this is discussion. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
I don't
I'm gonna
think
say
they-
probably not.
I don't think you can unless it's like a master plan kind of special permit where you
Right.
can say you gotta finish in 20 years or, something like that. Or come back for an extension, but, so I don't think we could.
It's also an item too, it might be helpful to talk to the building commissioner, because I mean, ultimately, a lot of it kind of revolves on them to enforce and to maintain and update. So right now, there's supposed to be a listing of what is approved for the in-law unit special permit. And how they do it right now is obviously when you record your special permit with the Registry of Deeds, as you go to get your building permit, you need to provide evidence of that recording. So you need to provide the registry copy to the building department in order to proceed with your building permit. When stuff changes over time, obviously that deed passes to the next owner. You do have that situation where it needs to be noted that, that is an in-law unit, that's not a rentable unit, that's not something that becomes a two-family, it's something that is an intended purpose as an in-law. I would just practically speaking, I can imagine, we all can imagine that's a situation that may be prone to error. You do have that people, town's not involved in real estate transactions to that extent, so you do have that kind of information that needs to be passed on to the next homeowner within the deed. It's an interesting conundrum, though. I mean, it's a good
It is.
point.
I mean, it's sort of like when the alcohol licenses are renewed every January for restaurants. They get their application, they have to check off all the boxes, and they send it back, and if everything's all in order, their license is renewed. I know it's like apples to oranges, but, and it's sort of like, Big Brother looking in, but I just don't know if we want to do that. This is just up
Yeah.
for discussion.
No,
It's a thought.
I actually like the idea, because we oftentimes say, it's not the person speaking to us about what they're gonna do.
It's the
I never
next-
worry about them.
it's the
They
next
come
guy.
in, it's the person 25 years from now who says, oh, I just bought a 2-family house in Walpole. Well, no, you bought a house with an in-law suite. It is not a 2-family house. So I think that, I guess my question, and we can find out,
Yep.
if you can put a 3 to 5 year limit on a special permit.
I would almost,
I mean,
not so much a limit, but
Limit.
maybe almost like if this is a route that, I'm talking to the building commissioner that, hey, if there's a check-in process or a renewal process or an update process, as opposed to really having the special permit itself conditioned. You know what I mean? So if it's 5 years, and this is just off the top of my head, we can talk to Mr. Crowley, but they have their listing of who has an approved special permit, if notification's sent out and information's not provided, maybe that's a way to kind of do the quality check there. I do kind of, I'm hesitant on the idea of having a special permit that is limited in terms of years, obviously.
Right, and I wasn't really sure, like,
Yeah.
where they were going, whether it was really like what they called accessory apartments, which really aren't in-law suites, so the zoning bylaws that I looked at were kind of overlapping, but it was just a thought, whether it's just, every 3 years or at the time of sale, and they get a survey
Yep.
to say who's living there. And the second part of that was, many times with their in-law applications, there's a signed affidavit as to who will be occupying the primary unit and the accessory unit that comes with, so it would, in the relationship of the parties, so sort of eliminate the question, who's gonna live, from us, who's gonna live there, if that's in any way awkward. I don't ever find that it is, but.
I like that idea. My suggestion, so we could do the formal affidavit. We can kind of also bump up this form, maybe include that as a line item. So in my point of view, this is the form for,
That's the form for the
we
in-law
created
suite.
for in-law units, just to kind of, here's the basic information, how large it is, what's the percentage to the existing home, how many meters, and so forth. And just to include a line there, that's just, you don't have to make a zoning change for that or anything like
Right.
that. You just do that as a board procedure item.
Yeah.
At least
And
that way it's on the record.
Yeah.
It's with the case, so.
And I think it would streamline, I mean, I'm sure that the gentleman in the baseball hat in the audience was the owner, and,
Yep.
we had to guess, and, because ladies don't always change their names, so there were 3 names to deal with in that. So it must be the daughter and the son-in-law and the family are coming in.
Yep.
But I think that would eliminate the question mark that comes up, like, who is gonna live there? It's nice that they wanna tell us, because, welcome to Walpole, but.
Do the banks look into this?
Yes,
When they
very
do
much.
a mortgage?
Yeah, and that's what we've actually seen, that we've had people come to us to get in-law suites. We had somebody on High Street that, they bought a house that had an in-law suite, but it didn't go through the zoning board process, and the bank said, you can't count this as income, meaning, there was partial support from whoever was gonna live there. So, it was, it was all on the up and up.
Right.
But basically, the mortgage company or the bank pushed them to come to the zoning board.
Okay.
Does that
So it
make
does-
sense?
Yeah, so it does come up in that part of the process when it changes ownership.
Or
To
when
an
someone
extent.
when someone's trying to get a mortgage to buy it,
And
or
they say,
refinance.
I have a house and I'm going to have additional income on this, and they say, great, but you don't have, you
don't have a
You don't have
two-family.
right, how are you gonna do that? And they wanna see it, done.
So they-
We've actually had 2 cases
So
like that.
it came back to you,
It never came to us in the first place.
but it came to you
It came to us, by the way, it had been built up before we had the bylaw.
okay.
And it was all on, it was all on the
Yeah,
up and
yeah.
up. But it was interesting to see that the only reason they were there was because their mortgage company
Pushed them.
pushed them to.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. In the next section that we have are C requirements. So C2 is the minimum of 250 square foot and no larger than 1,000, or 33% of the total building size in the dwelling, whichever is less. So these are just from different places, okay? Some have a minimum size of 350 square feet. The next one was the maximum 25% of floor area of the principal dwelling, or 800 square feet, whichever is greater. And they also made a point to exclude garage, shed, or other accessory use attached to the dwelling. The third one was the maximum of 1,000, or 25% of the habitable area of the principal dwelling as determined by the special permit application. And habitable was defined as finished, heated living spaces. Because I think, I don't know,
I think because it's not defined, or, let's see, accessory, let's see.
I know the word dwelling, and I know the floor area, and
Yep.
at one point, I thought we were looking at floor area, then
I
then
think
Jim
because
Crowley
it's not
throws in.
defined though, that's why the building commissioner
Right,
goes
so
to gross
if we
floor
tweak a
area.
definition,
Yep.
and we wanna,
We clarify the definition.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. It just makes our job easier.
yeah, because I think that we've had some enclosed porches, like screen porches and, you know,
Yeah.
unfinished areas in basements that will become things, but they're not heated, and they're just, well, you can't just call it an exercise room.
Living area, I guess if you
Living area.
define it as that, and instead of leaving it open-ended, then you
Mhm.
do, I guess it's that conundrum where it's open-ended, then it comes up interpretation, and up for interpretation comes down to building of zoning
Right.
enforcement.
So I think if all the definitions are in place that we're gonna use,
Yep.
it just makes things easier for
Easier,
us, and it's
simpler.
also easier for the person designing it.
Yep.
You know, it's
I
not
mean,
being done on a napkin, we know that, people pay a lot
thousands-
of money.
1,000 square foot, that's a good size,
That is a good size.
area.
And we have 33%, and most of the ones I looked at were 25%.
Okay.
And, you know, I think that's just something to think about.
Yeah.
Are we, are we
it's-
too generous? Are we
No,
Are we too cheap about it? But I just see that these in-law apartments are becoming much larger than when you think of
Yes.
Nana coming to live with the family, but there's a two-bedroom with a living area.
And I don't consider this one, the one we heard tonight, I didn't think that was
No, I
too
didn't.
large for the
No,
house or the
no,
neighborhood.
No, the house,
But
no.
we have had, when you see a two-bedroom attached, you know, it's starting to look a little big. I totally agree
And I
with
understand they're going on large houses,
that. Right.
and that's,
And I would say it's changing a little bit. It's not always now Nana coming to
Right.
live. It's older couples
coming, yes.
selling to the kids and looking for a little place to live attached
Right.
to the same house.
Right. So that's just
Yeah.
something we need to, I don't know,
Be
consider.
nice to tighten it up.
Consider that, in that respect, okay.
So let's just hold on to this.
Yeah.
I've always thought, you know, 800, 900 square feet, that's a small apartment, but you could even have a two-bedroom, you know, I've seen two-bedroom apartments at 930 square feet. You know, that's
Right,
a good size. And so if we're getting up to 1,000 square feet, that's pretty big. I think if anything, we need to scale it back. Because remember, this is supposed to be part of the house. And the idea is that whoever's living there is not living in their own world. They have their own world, but they're also part of the house.
Right.
So you would think that the living room or common areas would be
Common.
shared.
Yeah.
So I think, at least,
So-
I'm just talking out loud, saying, I think 1,000 feet is really a lot of space, and I don't think it's necessary.
I have a suggestion. So this does come up, and it has an asterisk next to it. This is where that kind of so
right, we can.
they have come in where they've exceeded 1,000 square feet, but they're able to kind of utilize that as a condition because of the asterisk. If we feel that, so the way it's worded, it's 200, minimum of 250, or no larger than 1,000 square feet, or 33% of the total building size of the dwelling, whichever is less. So, you know, if you have a massive building, 33% of it is gonna exceed 1,000, but typically, that's why they have that condition of the special permit to exceed it. I guess if you remove the asterisk, then you prevent anything from being over 1,000, no matter how large the existing home is,
Right.
you know?
We would have the discretion to grant something bigger if the asterisk.
No, I have a,
Then we wouldn't have that ability.
Right.
So we'd actually be limiting ourselves to somebody who maybe has a special reason why they need to have something.
I think that's why the intent is there, but yeah, that's,
But they could, yeah, I guess you could apply for a variance if you had a special condition to go over them.
Yeah.
yeah.
and I just had a question, I'm thinking of town meeting floor when there's changes made to a bylaw or an article
Mhm.
to make it more, not to make it more restrictive, but when we're doing something like a bylaw review, are we
Yeah.
held to that? Not to make it more restrictive than it is?
No, we can.
No, we can change
You
it.
can
So it's
change
not
it
like,
anyways.
yeah, I mean, I know,
You change it
the
anyway.
terminology of, you can't make something more restrictive
No, you can't.
at town
Towns
meeting,
have.
Well, I mean,
when it's on the floor, on the fly.
I mean, you can't, I mean, you, oh, you mean after? it's
Yeah,
already
after it's
used.
already been looked at, right?
Yeah,
I
but if
think that's
it's-
what I was thinking of that. So, I mean, I think it's in our best interest to weigh in on tightening it or
Yeah.
just making it more
Clear.
clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Trying to clear it
And
up.
it's also clear for the applicant, too.
Yep.
Um, Just, okay.
Okay,
So I'm actually marking up two sheets. I'm marking up your sheet and the actual bylaw.
yeah,
But
I tried
do-
to
would-
marry
do
them and I
people
just
think-
didn't.
Do people think that 1,000's too much, or is it the right amount?
Well, I'm thinking about some of the apartments above business that we've been looking at lately. Some of them are 650 square feet.
Or
some-
560.
Or 560, and
Yeah.
they're renting that, and they're considering that an apartment.
Like your typical colonial, you know, is like 2,000 square feet. So that's like a full floor
Right.
dedicated. to it.
Right,
But I guess if you'd remove the asterisks, if it's a 2,000 square foot, you can't, the less would be the 33%. You know what I mean? So,
Whichever is
30
less, right?
yeah.
So it'd be 660.
Yeah.
But
So-
that, just to give a
if
sense
you-
of how big 1,000 feet is, that's, in my mind, that's the way,
Right.
that's like a full floor of a.
so do we want to keep 33, or do you want to go to 25?
I actually, just so you know, I just wrote down 25 and down to 900, but I was even thinking,
850.
I was thinking even a little less, you know, but I don't want to make it so that if somebody comes in with like a really good plan that makes sense, that they'd have to go for a variance for it. I think that we want to keep this as open as possible, but not too open. So, I don't know, you said you threw out 850, why,
Well, the 1,000, boy, that must, when they're thinking about doing this, 1,000 must look so good to them. So before they get here and we like, no, it has to be, that's more than the 33%. You gotta go back now to 8, 7, or whatever it is. Pull it below 1,000. If it's 900, it's 900. But
I think that, again, these are supposed to be in-law suites. They're not houses within a house.
So I guess to your point, John, if you reduce those base numbers, would you be in favor of keeping the asterisks in the sense that there's an extra situation?
It
Yeah.
sounds weird. It sounds weird. I do like the asterisk only because that would be for the really special case, and I'm thinking about like for whatever reasons, somebody has to have you know, maybe they're saying, yes, we are actually, this is an in-law suite, but we're having, you know, more people in this for this reason. No.
I mean, you could say that instead of just leaving the asterisk and no conditions around it, you could say if you go over that, then we would only approve it under the following. So, you know, we'd have to kind of think in advance,
Yeah.
what sort of circumstances we would allow it to go over and which we wouldn't.
Yeah, but I don't even want to tie our
So we
hands.
avoid the variance, all things, so
Yeah.
we can say,
Well, I mean, there's, on the last page, which, because we didn't get to, and I didn't know quite where to stick it, but there are some towns that say, you know, limit to one bedroom of not more than 200 square feet, or two bedrooms of not more than 150, so
Right.
that's giving them a little more leeway if you've got two in-laws coming in and 2 bedrooms needed, or whatever the family unit might be, but you're limiting the size of the, so if they were doing 2 bedrooms, it's 300 square feet, and if it was 900 max, they got 600 square feet to put a living area, kitchen, and a bath, which it's still bigger than some of the ones we've looked at of the going up over the businesses in the CBD.
Right.
So I think that's very generous, but I don't know.
Defines it a little more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do think, I think the limit on the bedrooms and the size, that makes sense. Because
I mean, we did
again, I
have-
wouldn't want to just say one bedroom, although most of what we see is one bedroom. But somebody might have a situation where they, for whatever reason.
We
they-
had a two-bedroom.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure if there was, you know, in that case, what the need was for it, but they did
Yeah,
have.
and I don't know if we're gonna get into the needs, you know what I mean, but I think if it's written out that, you know, one bedroom, not, you know, not what's a 200 square foot bedroom? It's kind of big.
Yeah, that's a good size.
You
I
know.
mean,
It's a good size.
it's a, you know, 20 by 10, so that's.
I wonder if opening it up to the 2 bedrooms, though, makes it even more complicated.
Well,
Well,
right now, there's no limit.
there's no
Oh,
limit.
so what you're saying is, should we just say in-law suites are one bedroom?
Right.
And what I'm saying is, there might be these cases where
Two are needed.
two are needed for, you know, and I don't.
It has happened once.
What?
I think there was
We did
one
have
a
one, and
while
we-
ago over Zoom.
And we sort of, they never gave us an answer why they needed 2 bedrooms. And we didn't really ask too much,
Right.
but
I mean, sometimes there's medical reasons why someone needs
that
2
could be-
bedrooms.
It's true, I didn't think of that.
And that's not our business, but I mean, if we have a 1 bedroom, not more than 200, or 2 bedrooms, 2 at 150 each, that's 300 square feet of the place.
I would,
I think that, yeah, I mean, as long as there's an upper cap on the total, that'll keep it in proportion to a single-family home, and how they decide to divide it up interior is sort of their choice.
that's, yeah.
when you say a total cap, you mean the total square footage of everything?
Yeah, like if we said, you know, 800 square feet was your max, how many bedroom, you know, we could say no more than 2 bedrooms and put these individual limits on the bedroom sizes if we wanted, but, it would be up to them to decide.
Right.
And we wouldn't, like you said, we don't wanna.
I was gonna say,
Right.
I mean-
you also worry about infringing on Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 3, design the
know.
interior. So limiting it up to 2 rooms, I don't see as a bad I feel like that's something that if you go through the AG that works a little better. I wonder if restricting the size of the rooms after you've also restricted the size of the unit itself. I feel like it's almost like you want to you have that box, right, of like 850 square feet. You can have 2 bedrooms. Other than that, how you design it, that's not our business. You know what I mean?
I mean, clearly, somebody might do a twin-size bedroom and then a bigger queen-size bedroom or
Right.
whatever. It's not,
Yeah.
we don't care. But, maybe, but not more than 2 bedrooms. I think we don't
Yeah,
have to tell them
yeah.
how, the size, but if we limit the size overall and limit it to 2 bedrooms,
Kind of works
but
on
not
its
telling
own,
them how
but-
big the bedrooms should be, obviously,
Yeah.
then that kind of gives them,
I think it kind of works on its own if you limit it to 2 bedrooms with the size overall.
Mhm.
You can, you know, we're not architects; they can figure out however works best for them.
so, okay.
Okay, so we
That, though.
want to limit it to 2 bedrooms and just, they can figure out the
Not
dimensions.
maximum 2 bedrooms.
Right,
Yep.
so.
Okay.
Are you gonna pull it down from 1,000?
Yeah, well,
Thank
you know,
you.
this isn't, we still
Well,
got
no,
some
we're
work to
talking
do,
about
but
it, yeah.
my notes were, 900 or,
Okay.
I think,
what do you think?
I'm thinking 850. I
Okay.
mean, like Bob said, the typical home, and then you could get into size of lot too. I mean, there were some that said you had to have the, you know, well, we do have a lot size.
We
Some
do.
of them were as small as 10,000 square feet, which is, you're talking a tiny house.
Yeah,
But they're probably thinking the old school in-law, which I had some in my neighborhood growing up. And like, you know, they had a bedroom and a sitting area and they shared the kitchen. And that was really
Yeah.
truly family living together.
So, just, when we talk about lot size, let me just throw this out. I think most of the lots in Walpole are about 20,000 square feet, or am I,
Except in GR,
right,
right.
right. But in GR, they would be, would they be allowed to do,
No.
no, it's not by right.
Right.
Although they can do other things by right in GR.
Correct.
So, okay, so,
We can do lot size, and, I mean, I didn't
No,
look,
no,
I
I
didn't
think-
look and focus on any
no,
lot
I'm
sizes.
just trying to
but-
think, yeah, most of GR is going to be, would be about 15,000. But that also, I mean, then you're talking, this could be a pretty big house on a relatively small lot.
Mhm.
Well, it would still have to comply with,
Yeah,
you know,
Exactly.
yards and everything else.
Right. Yeah.
okay,
Okay, so
Um,
I think we're comfortable with the 15,000, okay?
okay, yeah, I didn't even like look at that one, I just figured that one was probably okay.
So,
So we finished page 1. Page 2 is exterior landings and stairs. And some of the language was, where there are 2 or more existing entrances on the front facade of the building, or the principal dwelling, if modifications are made to any entrance, the result shall be that one appears to be the principal entrance and the other appears to be secondary. Second idea, if more than 2 entrances exist at the front, then the in-law's second entrance must be on side or rear. And as far as stairways, all stairways to the accessory unit or to additional stories shall be enclosed within exterior walls of the structure.
So I had a conversation with the building commissioner about the exterior entrances, whether it's 2 or more. One of the suggestions that he brought up, and his reasoning, it kind of made sense to me, was just limiting it to 1. You have the access through the principal dwelling unit, and then you have 1 exterior access for the accessory unit, specifically, obviously, for that person to enter there on their own in emergency situations. But I guess having 2 or more, and this is just up for suggestion. Having 2 or more, does that make it more prone or susceptible to being utilized as a rentable dwelling, where you have, you know what I mean? So you have 1 entrance from 1 exterior entrance and 1 interior entrance, as opposed to 2 exterior entrances. I don't know if that's a little too much in the weeds.
One in the front and 1 in the back. I don't know. Like, would you then not be able to go into the backyard from the in-law suite?
I guess that's where the debate is.
I'm just trying to picture some of the ones we've had, where
Yeah.
they've kept the common front door.
Yep,
almost all of the ones we have
2.
have a front door for the
Yes,
in-law suite.
correct.
And I think that, to your point, you don't want to see
3 doors.
3 doors, on the front. And right now, and I agree, that's one of the things that always sort of starts to make the house look like a multi-family home, the bunch of doors.
Well, if there's
By the
2
way, I've got 3 front doors at my house, but, but
I
my house has been there since a long time.
But if there's 2 or more, if there's already, actually 2 or more, some of these homes have a front door, they have a, quote, like breezeway door, and they
Right.
also have a side door into the garage, so they have 3 ways to get into their house from the existing home.
But what I'm talking about is the visual of
Right.
the 3 on the front. So I actually think that, right now, we're not limiting the number of doors on the front of the house, but I agree with you that I think that that's something that keeps the character of the neighborhood.
Right, and then in the case where there's an addition to the existing home, there's been a front door.
Right.
So they got a front door on the principal house, and maybe the kitchen door somewhere buried in there, and then the addition now has a front door, so.
Like a breezeway or something.
Well, not even a breezeway, I'm thinking of a couple that we
Yeah.
looked at, because they were additions to the big house, or the bigger home,
Yep.
rather than already working with the footprint
Mhm.
of the existing.
So,
Yeah.
how about mine? Do you have anything about the unit cannot be closed off from the main house? Did you find anything?
Yeah, that's, well, let's see, do we finish? Okay, I get to the utilities, C8, and so we only talk about a water meter, but a lot of the other bylaws I looked at, the accessory in-law suite and the principal dwelling shall be serviced by common utilities, and that covered
Right,
electric,
yeah.
gas, and everything.
That's not what we've been doing, pushing for that?
No, we only do one water meter, but we don't know
Right.
what they're doing with the gas.
Yeah,
We've never, I don't think we ever asked, do we?
No. So, Drew, are there any issues electrically?
I think that the suggestion is probably the best way to do it, you
Yeah,
know.
just,
I mean,
just,
it's not gonna stop anyone from renting a unit and saying utilities included, but,
Right.
you know,
right, but,
it
makes it more
certainly would make it more complicated, you know.
okay, so,
That was that one.
Speaking of which, I don't know, since it is an in-law application, should we maybe remove that comment of how many water meters are you requesting?
Yeah, so that's another good suggestion, just removing the asterisks and just no more than one water meter, don't leave it up
Yep.
for.
Well, I just thought of that, cause that was a confusion tonight with
Is it
that
on the
applicant.
application?
Hey, how many
I
water
threw it
meters do
on
you-
this
Oh,
form,
okay.
but it is an item that
It's on the, like a list.
we have an asterisk as it can be conditionally
Right,
changed.
that's why I
So
said-
that's why I just
that's
removed
why I
it.
said
That's how
that.
that got
My
there? Okay.
apologies.
I didn't know. I've never seen anybody ask for two.
right,
Yeah.
all
right,
this
nobody's
time.
asked for it,
Mhm.
but you made it real clear that they're
Well-
not, they're not getting it, even though they did ask for it in the application,
Right.
but,
Well, the fact that they said they
so
got it corrected, and we didn't see that
so I think we
correction.
should remove, we all agree that should be removed, right?
Yeah,
So just service by
Water.
common utilities.
Yep.
Do we have to define them?
I don't think we,
I mean,
No.
are there?
I don't
No.
think we need to define it
Nope.
really, I
Okay,
think
all
just.
right.
Common,
You don't have to get into Netflix or anything like
No,
that?
no, they pay for their own. They probably stream,
Right.
I don't know how to do that. And C9 is, in our bylaw, I think it references, like borders. So I just kind of looked, there shall be no lodgers or borders allowed in the principal or accessory unit. The accessory unit shall not be used for business, commercial, or seasonal rentals, as in, I don't know if we could put our, VRBO or Airbnb.
I wouldn't put those, but.
You don't have to put
right,
that, but I just wanted, that's what I'm
right.
implying.
Yeah, no, we get
Seasonal
that.
rentals.
Right, no, we get it.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know what else? I mean, go on Airbnb, people rent out stuff in Walpole, for Patriots and concerts and things like that, so, so,
But that would be a condition, right, in the,
mhm.
in an approval? They had to be aware
Have
that
that as
that came.
like a standard condition
Standard
rather
condition,
yeah.
than. So,
right?
so would you include that, or would you include that within the language of the bylaw, or would that be something more or less as
Oh.
a standard
Well,
condition?
I'd put it in the
I'd put it in the
bylaw.
bylaw, but I'd
Yeah.
also probably make it part of the standard condition.
Okay.
Because if there's a violation, what are you gonna, other
And-
than the bylaw violation?
Judy, the only, I'd take out VRBO.
Oh, yeah, no, I
and-
just wanna put
but
that as
I'm-
an example.
But, so I would just add, I just use, short-term rentals.
I would almost just include the first sentence, there shall be no lodgers or boarders allowed in the principal or accessory unit. Because that's already followed up by, you can have lodging as a special permit already, but I guess if you restrict the in-law, if you're going for an in-law unit, it
It's-
should be utilized specifically for, third degree of kinship. So that also, I guess, you can throw it in, I guess it could be part of the bylaw, but we also do kind of overstate the fact that, I'm not renting it to my, my cousin or so to speak, but it has to be a third degree of kinship anyway. So I guess having it in there, it enforces it even more so, which I don't think is a bad thing. But
So you wanna do like,
I would almost say there shouldn't be no lodgers or boarders allowed in the principal, or I would say there should be no lodgers or boarders allowed in the in-law unit.
but you know what could happen, and it just
I
could
know.
happen, is the primary owner moves into the accessory unit and rents the house.
True. But that could happen for any of it.
Well, it's a
yeah.
flip, that's what I mean, if you just leave it, they can't be in either side, then
Yep.
I think you've covered the base. So if you do seasonal and short-term short-term rentals or whatever, because, I mean, seasonal is probably for like the,
Or 2 week summers?
the beach, the beachside communities.
In Walpole.
Well, we got New Pond and Clark's, Cobb's, lots of stuff there. Okay, and then, C10, we just have parking shall comply with applicable sections of the bylaw. And I know it came up a couple times, and I asked about parking, particularly, there was a couple of instances, and I guess, and I asked tonight, if in the event that there's insufficient parking on the property, an appropriate space for at least one parking space shall be constructed to serve the accessory unit. There's gonna be additional cars on the property,
Mm.
most likely,
Or at least one.
at least one. If they know they already have parking for 6 cars on their property, I guess, and it's residential, we're supposed to have 3 anyway, but I don't know how they determine parking spaces for residents. Your driveway's your driveway, I guess.
Yeah. Some of the places I see cars parked,
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
I don't know what you wanna do with that.
I don't think parking's been that much of a concern. Have there been cases where people were concerned about adequate parking?
I think so. Can we name cases?
Yeah.
The ranch with the 3-car garage on
In South Walpole.
South Walpole.
Yeah, that,
They were gonna have a real short 3-car driveway, but 1.5 cars in length,
yeah.
so,
There was, the house on the dangerous intersection up here where they wanted to create a separate curb cut and bring in the parking for the in-laws separately from the main house. And that was just an issue that I remember, I think we conditioned saying, well, 1, you can't have 3 curb cuts, but 2, it should be adjoining to the main house driveway.
Yeah.
right, and that, I didn't read the rest, did you read the rest of what I wrote?
No.
Just basically, parking space shall be constructed of materials consistent with the existing driveway and shall have vehicular access to the existing driveway. So it wouldn't allow for
A separate driveway.
a separate driveway, separate curb cut. And I was
So-
told
Right.
years ago, the big wide 2-car, curb cut wasn't allowed for some reason in Walpole, but,
But, Drew, the case you're talking about, thank goodness we did that.
Yeah.
Because, one, the project turned out really nice, but 2, you would have had cars backing out onto Route 27 at the new intersection.
Right.
Yeah, so, and they fought us on that, but we prevailed, and that was good. So you can't, I definitely like the idea of not having an additional driveway, because then it's gonna look
Mhm.
like a,
Yep.
so do we wanna add that, only one driveway?
Parking, I guess maybe
I think it
tweak
keeps in the
language.
character of the neighborhood. You start having driveway over here for the
Right,
accessory.
I agree, so how do we wanna word that?
Mhm.
Parking shall comply with,
Parking shall utilize existing driveway of primary dwelling unit. And then I guess that language, parking space shall be constructed, no, wait. In the event of inefficient parking on the property, an appropriate space for at least one park. I guess you could tweak the wording, I guess, to
Yeah, I
basically say,
mean-
keep it on the driveway. If you don't have room, make sure to include existing parking.
Right, and I
Like-
think to have like,
Yeah.
what do you call it, consistent materials,
Yeah.
you just don't wanna see the space for the access, it's might be, and I'm sure the entire family's gonna like use every space.
Yeah.
However, you don't want just, I'm sure your neighbor doesn't wanna look across the street and see like just tire marks through the lawn. That's not too aesthetic, I guess. Crushed stone or something like that maybe, but just so that they're not parking wherever on the street until they can't park on the street.
Right,
Yeah.
and
I think that's
too
what I
is
was trying
Some of the
to,
bigger issues is that sometimes you run into the scenario where maybe it wasn't thought of, and yeah, they're gonna park out on the street. and-
until you can't, because it's gonna
Right.
snow, and then
Or
they'll.
until the new owner that has 2 cars is gonna now do
Yeah.
it on the street.
So I just thought that would be like one thing to
Okay.
consider.
Yeah.
All right. And we didn't, I don't think we have a definition, I know, that says what the unit would contain, a kitchen, bathroom, living area, and maximum of, we had said 2 bedrooms, so I think it's, if somebody doesn't want to put a kitchen in, I guess that's up to them, but that's what the definition of the suite would be,
Well, so we do define it on,
somewhere.
yeah, so it's section 5-B2A. I think I put a packet at your side, Judy, that I had included in this section. So separate dwelling unit located in the family dwelling as an accessory or subordinate use to the residential use of the property, provided that such separate dwelling unit has been established pursuant to the provisions of the section. So it's kind of, it could be,
Just, I mean, I don't know if it just
Elaborate more,
elaborate on that it's a, you know, a kitchen,
'Cause all-
bath, because you have to, it has to have the bath, it has to provide hygiene and,
well, the kitchen
That's
is
exactly-
certainly what makes it be an in-law unit
Right.
in a sense. You can
By
do it.
defini-
Right, right,
The
but I
kitchen
mean-
is what you get hung up on.
Yeah.
Because you can build this without a kitchen, and it's just an addition.
correct.
So it's, the only reason is for the kitchen.
Kitchen.
That's what makes it
Yeah.
a suite.
The
Yeah.
suite.
I mean, that seems to, so I guess maybe having that included in the definition a little bit better, so it's basically, the kitchen, I guess, is what triggers it being an
Yeah.
in-law unit.
Right, you remember
So shall
on
contain, yeah.
Yeah.
Stone Street, somebody was building it, and if they didn't get our approval, they were gonna just build it without the kitchen. And, you know, they were truthful and said, yeah, this is under construction, if we get your approval, the kitchen goes in, if we don't, there's no kitchen.
Yeah.
And I say the best to last. Passage between principal unit to accessory unit. Many of them have unrestricted passage, must be maintained on each level between units by means of an arched doorway, which we say, we ask for, but it's not carved in stone, I guess. And then the second one was interior door shall be required between each unit as means of access for purpose of supervision and emergency response. And I look at that as like just like a bedroom door, not a security door, not, you know, possibly even just a passage doorknob.
So so the second one,
There's your choice. I mean, you're gonna either go with what we've always had, the unrestricted passage
yep,
by means of the arched doorway, or it could be on the
Yeah.
more progressive side. It still should look like a hallway.
This, I know this is
We've
kind
had
of been
that
a
conversation.
Yeah, I know we've had this conversation before, and I know it's always been the policy of the board to remain open. You can certainly, if the applicant is agreeing to it, go forward with that. I do worry including, like, I know it's not in that language right now, but, you know, including that language within the bylaw to keep it encased, I don't know if that really is kosher with section 3 of chapter 40A, just because there's certain, there's certain, I know,
You
we've
and
talked about it.
We've talked about it,
I know.
and one of the things, I would agree up until everything except the fact that this is a special permit
Yeah.
for an in-law suite, and by the way, it's not an in-law apartment. It's an accessory to the dwelling. It has, even in the word accessory, is the word access. So I think we're on very solid ground, and we have been, that we're not getting involved with the design of the interior of the home. What we're saying is that you're going to have it so that it is not it's not closed off. We don't care how you design it, but you're not gonna close it off.
I know, but
And-
it would become an issue if someone really wanted to push back and not, and wanted a door there. I'm just trying to be honest with you, John. It is one of those things where state Mass General law kind of supersedes that if it were to become an issue.
But what is,
Because you're designing the interior of a single family dwelling, or
It's
one and two
not-
dwellings have certain.
see, again, this is a modified single-family dwelling now, because it's not necessarily a single family, because there is an accessory on it.
I know.
The good news is, we've been consistent with how we've handled these cases, but I like the idea of nailing it down so that we don't have to say, you gotta take that door out, where it's in the bylaw that says there is no, my wording was, accessory in-law suite shall not be closed off from the main house with any type of door. It shall not be closed off. And closed off isn't a good term. I like your wording better.
I know.
I almost like Judy's two options, but just because that's, I guess you
I-
provide the option of how it should always be accessible, in the sense.
Right, so the second part with if there was to be a door, like I said, I don't envision it being a steel exterior door that totally commercially looks like it's Fort Knox to get over to visit your grandparents,
Or
but,
how about the fact that now there's a couch in front of that door because nobody's coming in and out of that in-law suite, because it's not an in-law suite, it's now being treated as an apartment. The only way we can make sure that it's an in-law suite is by this is the key point, that it's part of the house. It's
Okay,
ex-
I
it's
mean-
an accessory, it's an accessory to the house. I know we disagree, Pat.
I know, John, it's okay.
But
what do you think, Tim?
I like keeping it open myself.
what do you think?
Yeah, I think it just promotes the ability to, down the road, turn it into a separated dwelling unit. But-
And what you say about the door, designs of doors changed, you could make it look like it's easy to get through, but it could be a locked door. I mean, who's gonna be in there checking the
I'm
door?
just- Right,
think
I
for
know
all
Is
the-
that an additional inspection?
For all the purposes of the bylaw and the intent of it, as I mentioned before, it's next to kin, it's family, it's, we're helping you out from a medical standpoint. It should be inherent that you want an openness feeling between that unit and this. To come in with a set of plans, because it's not clearly stated in the bylaw that, well, I wanna throw a door in there, I wanna put it down this hallway, then I'm gonna put a door up the day the building inspector leaves. Whatever the scenario is, I think it should be spelled out in this bylaw that it creates what it's meant to, which is the openness concept of this is an accessory to the actual dwelling, it's for next to kin. Those are the special reasons that, yeah,
So how do we word that?
that I would have to get back to you.
So, do you like the unrestricted passage must be maintained? And the only thing I'd take out is this bit about, and by means of an arched doorway.
Well, I don't know what to call,
I know what you mean, but
It's-
as soon as you say doorway, somebody puts a doorway in an arch.
opening, I mean, what does a builder call, an architect call an archway? I don't know.
Alright,
What about like,
I think a cased opening, I think is the term.
Cased opening, well, yeah, somebody used it recently.
Yeah,
Okay, cased
cased
opening.
Bob?
I'm just thinking about, different scenarios on if there's an in-law suite that's in the basement, or where access to that is always gonna be through a door of some kind, right, you wouldn't say you gotta remove the door that's in front of the stairs and go down the you know what I mean? I'm just trying to think
So-
of circumstances where it's impractical not to have a door.
So, with the basement, as, you can't put an in-law suite in a basement unless you have, exterior doors and
Right.
windows that meet the
Right.
code on that. And we did have somebody that came for that, and that was a big
Yeah,
big
right.
mess.
Right.
Any habitable space in a basement, I think the window has to be, it's a building code.
Right, it's a building code issue,
Yeah.
right.
Well, the
And-
one we just did on, Eldor, the Rays Ranch.
That didn't have a,
They were in the garaged area.
right, but
Right.
this was over on Ganawati Farm where somebody had
Oh,
bought
okay.
they had bought a house with the whole thing was huge mess. You know, basically, an in-law suite had been built with no permits and electrical and plumbing. And they were trying to get it right, but, it was a mess. And they had to, so they had to have special doors and windows and excavation
Right.
to meet that requirement. But to your point, it would be basically the stairs going up to the house for that in-law suite.
But
Right.
what about like at the top of the stairs, like
Right.
no door there?
I mean,
I mean, that could be the result. I'm just trying to think out
Yeah.
loud about, because I don't know that the building inspector, even with the conditions and approved plans, is going in and checking subsequently, like as Drew says, the day after, they can just throw a door in there and that's that, So I know we can't control that, and to the extent we can explain what we're, more clearly if we need to, that it needs to truly be accessory and not a separate unit. I think that makes sense.
it also, I always look at a good bylaw as something that also protects the neighbors, so that if all of a sudden it does turn into an apartment, well, then you can say, well, this has been closed off.
Right, right.
That's not the intent of the bylaw. And it's in the bylaw that it can't be closed off, so. So the wording I like, Judy, using most of yours is unrestricted passage must be maintained on each level between the units by means of a cased opening.
Okay. I think arched doorway must have come from my Lord of the Rings life.
I think on the accessory unit shall contain kitchen, bathroom, and living area, that the term dwelling unit is in the definition of accessory in-law suite, and that the dwelling unit says complete living facilities for use of one or more individuals with permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking,
So it's already
and sanitation,
defined.
so it's
So it's
sort of,
it's defined
sort of
in
baked in.
It's defined in the
But it
definition
doesn't say
section
kitchen,
for
right?
the bylaw.
Well, it says eating.
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 Eating, right.
cooking.
I kind of
But it
think,
doesn't, I mean, to Judy,
need
it
to
doesn't
say-
say kitchen, because that is really the only thing.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
think we
yeah,
need
yeah.
Hot
to.
plate doesn't cut it.
No, it's not, because I've seen places.
I think the kitchen,
wherever it needs to fall, those are just ideas that we need to either
Yes, the
put it
definition
somewhere.
of
Okay, in the full
dwelling
bylaw,
unit,
yeah. Yep, but, right.
yeah, I think I guess if you were to take another look at the definition section of just within the bylaw itself, just maybe you can try to improve that.
Because I didn't know if there were
Whereas
any,
that definition is more general.
Right.
I didn't know if there were any state building
includes-
code definitions of these things, where dwelling and floor area, are they all covered in our zoning book? Or are they only covered when we need them?
Sorry, what was that?
The definitions,
The definitions.
of like dwelling unit, or?
Yeah, it should be within the
Ex-
zoning
It's
bylaw.
it's
Are
right in
we-
the zoning
Yeah.
bylaw.
Right, okay,
Right,
so
but
are
it-
we also defining, that it includes defining what we are calling an accessory in-law suite?
Well, that's the thing, right?
That's right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dwelling unit is part of the definition of
Yes,
Existing
okay.
in-law suite. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't wanna get repetitive, but you wanna make sure it's
right.
kind of
guess-
in order.
Having the definition here too, I've seen it both ways, where some towns will just keep all the definitions for any sort of change within the definition section, but then if you have something specific, you have requirements with it, it's also called out within the actual bylaw.
Right,
I
and I
that
think
makes
that's,
sense.
they did that when they defined the habitable.
Yeah.
It was very clear that in that section, they didn't make you flip back to definitions. The definition was right there, so
Yep.
you'd say, it has to be heated, living, whatever.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm gonna have to look up cased opening to make sure that is,
a real word,
it's
a real term?
thing.
Okay.
But I think that's what we've all.
Yep.
So,
Uh,
Oh, so like the ownership requirements, I didn't look at that real hard, so, as far as the recordings, were there any things to change there? Or that's strong enough?
I think it's been strong enough. So-
Okay. That was, that's why I didn't
I think the only
look,
thing that you mentioned was the 3 to 5 year
to try to put that in there.
But it's also kind of mentioned within number 6, which is ownership of property changes, the new owner shall notify the building commissioner,
So as to update the list,
Right.
yep.
which is kind of the renewal that we're talking about, but I think, to
It's-
your point, that this we're trying to
Condition.
look at putting a, expiration onto that special permit would be, if possible.
Do we have
Maybe a
any
little bit more
information
enforcement.
from the building department as to whether that actually happens?
Right, and does it
Yeah, I mean, I
happen?
can follow up with them on that. I mean,
Whether like a subsequent owner actually notifies and says, hey, I own this now.
probably not. We can follow up with them, but I mean, something like that, I would imagine, comes forward when an owner of a building, or of a home that has that, goes to get their building permit. It's probably, or for whatever project they may be doing at home, that's kind of like an opportunity to, hey, you live at this address, are you still utilizing that in-law suite? I don't know how the actual process goes down.
Yeah, I just don't know
Yeah.
how much like tracking is actually happening.
Right,
Yeah. And obviously, anything, if we were to put together kind of a draft change, anything like that, as you all know, would have to go through the planning board and obviously go through town council as well for follow-up and review to make sure we're.
Yeah, in fact, I forget, I think Tim and I were talking.
Yep.
The zoning board really traditionally does not
No,
do zoning bylaw modification, changes or things for town meeting. I think it's appropriate that we do this tonight because we're the ones dealing with it. But I think what we should do is we should write it up and give it to the planning board, and then they'd have the hearings on it, and, or they decide if they decide what they want to do with it.
correct. So the warrant, I mean, if we're thinking the spring, the warrant's open right now until I believe January 10th. I'm trying to get on the planning board agenda for December 1st. I have a few other zoning amendments that I've worked on with the building commissioner, so maybe that's an opportunity then to also kind of address this if possible.
But,
December 1st, is it?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
can we get the draft ready for us for the next meeting with these
On
changes?
December, yeah, for the 7th, yeah, I think so.
Oh, when's our meeting? December?
December 7th,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Because I think they're the first Thursday.
But that's not the deadline for getting it on the warrant.
The
Right.
warrant would be the 10th.
Right.
There's 2 routes of sponsorship, I guess, both through the planning board or through the select board, and then obviously citizens.
What are they?
Through the planning board or through the select
But what are
board,
they for?
in terms of
Sponsor.
sponsorship to be on the warrant
Right.
itself.
Right.
Yep. And then obviously, yeah, you would need to go through
But
the
what are you
planning board
working
for-
on? What's the bylaw you're working on?
I have a few different adjustments to 2-family, 3-family, and parking requirements that I've been looking at with the building commissioner.
No, okay, we can talk offline.
Yeah, yeah.
So, well, I've got a whole bunch of notes, and what do we, do we like the idea of using the existing bylaw and just making changes to the existing bylaw? We're not talking about scrapping entire section 5B2 and putting in a new
No.
5B2, okay?
Just
So,
where all these little
These
pieces
that
fit
will improve, that
appropriately
will
to
improve
improve
it.
it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do that on my computer, so I tried.
Oh, it's good.
No, I think this
It's been a great
is
way
good.
to look at it, thank you.
Yeah.
I've always been trying to get the bit about your words, the unrestricted passage must be maintained. So I think we can work all this stuff in and have a better bylaw for everybody.
And just as an aside, some of them have in-law suites as a matter of right in going through the building inspector. And then a
Okay.
special permit in business or industrial area. That was kind of interesting.
For an in-law suite?
Yes.
Wow.
There's a couple of towns that had that, which I thought was really kind of strange, but
But that's probably because they've taken residential area and zoned it business or industrial.
something, yeah.
I was gonna say, I wasn't gonna touch the third rail, but that when you do have certain zoning that has additional requirements that are very prescriptive like that, does it, again,
Yeah, I
does
know.
it make sense to go forward with the special permit if you already have to regulate it so much? Is the special permit necessary if it's contingent on limited site plan review?
Well, I think when people come for an in-law, I think
Yeah.
it's more of a notification to the neighbors that this is gonna happen, because if someone just
Yeah.
walked into the building inspector's office and said, here's all my list, I checked everything off, I got a cased opening, I got
Mhm.
1 bedroom, I got less than 850 square, and they, here you go, here's your permit. Maybe your neighbors feel like the neighborhood's already too crowded.
Yeah.
I think we need to have the public here.
And the public, I think, public
yeah.
hearings, you know.
And
there's-
particularly when you buy a house in a single-family neighborhood,
Mhm.
that's what you're buying into. And if all of a sudden there's an accessory in-law suite, that changes things in the neighborhood.
Yeah, because that's, I guess, to your point about that, you know, like the general residence district, where 2-family, 3-family, multifamily is allowed. The use here is allowed by right, so we do, I guess, kind of play both parts, where, you know, it depends on the district, really.
And Judy, I really think I like this bit about the front entrances. You know, that has to be part of the new one,
Right,
so. Any changes?
yeah, and, because a
And
lot of them did have,
because-
that the accessory, their egress had to be on the side or in the rear.
I like what we have about the landings, can't be in the setback, or, you know, all that,
Mhm.
so that part's good, but I think we need to,
Yeah, because when they talk about the stairs, and I think it's important that the stairs be inside, that you don't
Mhm.
have these, you know, winding
Yeah, yeah.
spiral staircases. I saw one in Norwich, a studio down, 3-decker. Yeah, you let them put a spiral staircase outside.
anybody have anything else? Okay. Patrick, what's the best way, can we do a common doc that we can send out? Can you copy this?
Yeah, so, because we gotta be cognizant of the open meeting law in that sense, but
Okay.
I could take the changes, do a red line copy, and provide it to the board. That way, it's just notification.
Mhm.
But obviously, you can't have correspondence back and forth. and
Right, but we can get on there and make changes and, you know,
Mm.
I'd have to check.
Yeah.
That's something where it's like if
Can
we're,
we,
I
if
guess
you
a
d-
sub.
Yeah, if you do that, and send out the common doc with the red lines,
Yeah.
I think we should all of us look at it, and then can we set aside 15 minutes at, you know, subsequent meetings
Yeah.
to just say, we're gonna talk about this,
oh, yeah.
and really
yeah.
stream it down. I don't wanna do
Yeah.
anything that's gonna violate anything.
No, I don't think, I think if we all got together and met, that would be
Should we do a
problem, but-
workshop instead of a meeting?
well,
I mean, a meeting, a
we can't have
meeting.
more than 3 of us, we can't have more than
Right.
3 of us together.
No, but
You
post
could
it.
have a notified, you could have it as a working meeting, so to
Working
speak, but it
meeting.
would have to be notified,
Yeah.
which is not a problem.
Yeah. But I just wanna, we've got a lot of good ideas.
Mhm.
I think we need to put them in and.
See what they look like.
See what they look like.
Yeah.
And then everybody looks at them again and says, yeah, this is what we were talking about. Or I might say, oh, that, you know, that's not what I meant when, you know, when I said that,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
So can you put this into,
I can,
this in
yeah,
digits and then send it out?
I'll take this, which is the existing, and be able to kind of redline and show where proposed changes would go
We
in,
could
what would be
insert
taken
them.
out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to give it
I'm gonna
your
hold on
notes?
to
Oh,
those,
you're gonna-
yeah,
okay.
I'll hold on to those, yeah. Cause he won't, yeah, maybe he could read it, but, okay. Okay,
Okay.
anybody have anything else? Great, I think this was very productive, and I'll also say, I'm very much in favor of the in-law sweet. Most people, I think, it's working, but we want to make sure it works the best. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Drew. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. Good night.